Well, we are heading to week 2 now, Shane, and what a week 1 was. Most of those games went as expected, with the exception of one.
Yeah, not many people really saw Polo and Orangeville being that close of a game. Although we kind of talked what the implications were of that game. If you're looking for Orangeville to make the playoffs, you got to have that win. I mean, they could still make the playoffs, or if people get thinking Polo can make it, they got to have a win against Orangeville. They got their season off to the right way. Aquin played a close game. We saw a barn burner of a first half in Forreston against Du-Pec. I mean, it was an all-around pretty good week of football.
It was. I mean, and going back to the Polo-Orangeville game, I mean, yeah, we had Orangeville picked to win, along with a lot of everybody else. I mean, there was quite a few that still had Polo picked, but you take a look at that game, I mean, that was our Upstate game of the week. So obviously we anticipated it being what it was. However, when Orangeville gets up 31-15, they kind of lax back, and then Polo took off with it.
Right, and if you really think about it, any time a team gets up a couple scores, you kind of get that comfortable feeling, especially around here where a lot of teams are run heavy. It takes a while to get some scores unless you're a big hitter or something, the northwest side.
And honestly, at 31-15, that's a 3-score game.
Right. So, I mean, you start to relax a little bit. What's the most dangerous thing in hockey? A 3-goal lead. I mean, really, what Orangeville had there was, along similar lines.
Right. So, looking forward to this week. We got some good matchups again coming up, which we'll dive into here shortly. But don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just simply hit the button down there, and you'll be updated with all of our posts as soon as they come live on YouTube as well. Aquin at Warren. Shane, Aquin comes in with a 1-0 record after they beat Hiawatha last week 21-14, while Warren comes in with an 0-1 record after their loss to Stockton as expected, 46-6. Last year in this game, Aquin won 35-8. You were at that game. It was kind of a slow start to Aquin before they came out in the second half to lighten up the scoreboard a little bit.
Yeah, I'd really have to think hard if I want to remember anything from that game. It was pretty lackadaisical if I remember anything about it. It was just one of those weird games where it's like, man, this game should be having a running clock by now, and it never got there. And last week with Aquin and Hiawatha, that was a game, talking offset a little bit, I kind of was thinking about picking Hiawatha there. We both ended up going with Aquin, but that was just one of those games because we don't know exactly coming into the season what Aquin was going to be, losing as much as they did and whatnot. But close game last week and on against Warren now. So.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look to Warren lost 46-6, but, they have some impressive things going on with Ethan and Garrett Williams. Their two guards really played really tough as well against Stockton. I mean, it's one of those things with Coach Teskey in charge there. The boys are coming to play, and at this point in the juncture, that's really all you can ask for.
Right. There's only so much you can do. It was pretty evident from early on that Warren wasn't going to be able to match the physicality of Stockton, which we knew that going into the game. Should have a less physical opponent coming into this week compared to last week, but still a physical team, more so than they were last year in Aquin.
Oh, yes. I mean, you can definitely see that Aquin is starting to grow. The young guys coming up are definitely a lot tougher, and they have that physicality behind them that Aquin has pretty much lacked since the 2011 season when they lost in the semifinals that year.
Right, and that's something we don't always see from Aquin. So you get that physicality brewing at Aquin, and it leads to good things because, we know Aquin to be a power throwing team. If you get some physicality, it makes you more than one-dimensional, which might not pay off for them this year, but evidently moving forward, that'll be something great.
Well, and that's one of the highlights with what Aquin has going on this year. You got Will Gustafson at quarterback, so you have that quarterback who can throw the ball, right, but he can take off and run it just as
had a heck of a game
good.
Last week.
Heck of a game. Had over 350 yards of offense and contributed to all three Aquin touchdowns in that win against Hiawatha. And then on top of that, he played amazing defense.
Right. I mean, how many times don't we see that from Aquin quarterbacks?
Right.
You know, every year it seems like they're
the studs.
Yeah.
Who's your pick to win?
Unfortunately, Warren's Trail of Tears doesn't get any better here. I like Aquin big.
Yes, I do too. I like the Bulldogs. Milledgeville at Polo. Both teams, Shane, come in this game 1-0. Last week, Milledgeville beat Amboy 36-7 after going into halftime with a 14-7 lead, while Polo came back to beat Orangeville 34-31, as we discussed in our preview, after being down just 16-15 at halftime. This matchup last year, Milledgeville won this game 14-6. It also took place in week 2 as well. And this is one of those matchups that, you know, we could have easily picked this to be the Upstate game of the week, but we actually have another matchup coming on that is even more important, I think, in this part of the season.
Right. You know, that's not something we always foresee taking place, but, you know, nonetheless, here we are with it. And, you know, coming off last week's game, that was a good win for Polo to build up coming in against Milledgeville. Whether people believe it's Milledgeville or Stockton, we personally believe it's Milledgeville to be at the top of the Upstate. So, you know, it's always easy to get up for the top team in the Upstate or the Northwest, wherever you're playing them. But, you know, Polo, you know, they can take some things from that Orangeville game. You know, hey, if we get down early against Milledgeville, we've come back. We can do it again. You know, that win and winning like that just allows you to do so many things moving forward.
Well, it definitely solidifies what you've been working for all summer long. And like we stated back in the preview show, I remember stating that I probably would not like where I have Polo picked. I said I'll probably take a beating because I picked them at 2-7, and I actually think they're going to be much better than that. Now, I still don't see where Polo is going to be a playoff team per se, but if they can keep playing ball games like they did against Orangeville, heck, it's theirs for the taking right now.
Right, and you know, I personally picked Polo with a few more wins than you do at 4-5, and that was with a loss to Orangeville. So, you know, looking at the schedule and seeing how things go out, you know, they could be flirting with that 4-5, 5-4, somewhere about in there.
I mean, one of the things I was really impressed with was the play of Brady Webb. He comes out, he gets the kickoff return after Orangeville was up 31-15, returns the kickoff on the ensuing kickoff for 85 yards. Then he breaks off the 41-yard touchdown run to bring him within 3 points. Braden Solto had a heck of a game as well, throwing the ball, and his targets being Tucker Mumford, who caught the game-winning touchdown, 87 yards, and Ethan Phillips had a couple big plays there as well in that game.
Right, and you know, how many times don't we see it that teams, you know, we might not always agree with it or whatever the situation may be, teams kick short or out of bounds or whatever, you know. You don't want their best athletes to beat you the way that Polo was able to beat Orangeville. You don't want to get beat to allow a team to come back in the game on a kick return of all things. So, you know, you'd rather have them go 40 or 50 yards and score rather than the big explosive play that automatically jumpstarts your team back into a game.
Right. And then, so take that, for example. That was Milledgeville's game. So they're up 14-7 at halftime. Amboy's knocking on the end zone, overthrows the ball, which would have been a touchdown to go into halftime most likely tied.
Right.
Carson Boyer comes out in the second half and boom, 80 yards gone. Just like that. It's 22-7.
And the game's over.
And then, you know, you add in Nate Rand and his offensive game that he had with 150 yards rushing. I mean, they just put together a complete effort in that second half to take the Clipper sales right away from them.
Right. So, I mean, you don't want to get beat that way. And Coach Doyle said that on, you know, the post-game interview on the radio I was listening to. You know, you try to keep the ball out of their playmakers' hands.
Right.
But things happen.
They do. And Polo, man, what a win. What a win.
But I think it ends here, though. I'm going to take Milledgeville on the road.
Yes, I like the Missiles as well. They've been my pick to click since the beginning of the year. I'm not changing from it now. South Beloit at Stockton. Shane, South Beloit comes in with an 0-1 record after they got pounded by Arcola, 42-0 on Saturday. While Stockton comes in with a 1-0 record after they beat Warren, 46-6. Last year, these two teams did not play, but the last time they did was when South Beloit was still in the NUIC, and they played in 2008 in a Week 9 matchup that Stockton won 19-8.
Yeah. Not much to say on my behalf about South Beloit. Glad they're out of the conference. Went to Arcola, got their ass kicked. I mean, realistically, I look at it more of Stockton takes a beating from not having Marquette this year rather than, they get South Beloit. So, I mean, realistically, Stockton, you go to this game and you focus on what you need to, which has been, a heavy dose of Dvorak. I mean, look at the yardage he had last week. 200 and whatever out of
247 of the 281 yards came from Dvorak.
I mean, I'm not a math wizard, but that's like 90-some% of your yardage. So, I mean, realistically speaking, this is going to be a good week for Stockton to get ready, so to speak, so they're all engines are moving forward for Milledgeville next week.
Well, remember when they had the old NCAA Division I and Division I AA.
Mm-hmm.
In the opening season, the Division I teams were always playing the Division I AA
teams. Confidence booster.
Yeah.
Here you go.
This is Stockton's confidence booster. Work on the things that you have to fix that you saw against Warren per se, or that you see in practice. Take it as another opportunity to learn, and then you can get the wheels running next week.
It's basically like Stockton started their season last week. This week, they go back to summer practices with a scrimmage on Friday, and then they look forward to Milledgeville.
Right, exactly. I mean, and that's what you got to get prepared for. So you take the two cakewalks that you got, you get more prepared, ready to go, you get out healthy, and then you come ready to focus on Milledgeville, which very well could be the conference championship game.
Right, and then, you got West Carroll after that. So, you got a couple big weeks coming up here for Stockton.
Right.
Stockton. Hands up.
AFC at Dakota in our crossover matchup. Shane AFC comes in with an 0-1 record after they lost to River Ridge 22-0. While Dakota comes in with a 1-0 record after they beat Galena 35-0 for the second year in a row.
Yeah, you almost said after Dakota beat Dakota, and it kind of sounded like that after getting some insight on the game Friday. I mean, Dakota played real sloppy, left a few touchdowns on the field, and still walked away with a 35-0 win over Galena, where AFC struggled with River Ridge 22-0. I mean, this is a game kind of like last year where you hate to say it, but looking at the schedule, if you're Dakota, you kind of already chalk this up as a win and you get ready for that week 3 against Forreston. I mean, we just talked about Stockton and Subway. I mean, it's really pretty much the same story.
It is. I mean, you come in, you got AFC, and AFC is not going to finish where I predict them to be at 3-6. I just don't. After watching what they did with River Ridge and knowing that River Ridge also left 3 touchdowns or more out on the field, 3 for sure, because they turned the ball over twice inside the 5, and then they had a touchdown called back. So that's a running clock right there if they convert. Right. And I mean, the good thing about AFC is they're playing hard, obviously.
Right.
Because to get up on the goal line like that and come away with fumble recoveries, I mean, that's playing hard.
Right, and you don't want to discredit AFC. I mean, the results might not be there, but as long as you're working towards the goal, getting wins and piling wins up and playing hard, I mean, you're going to run up against teams where the talent gap is just that, though.
Right, and that's the Dakota Indians.
Yeah.
Which, you take a look, they played each other last year, and Dakota won this matchup 47-6.
I would expect the similar, if not a little bigger gap yet.
Right. Well,
depending on the subs.
It depends on when the subs go in, how quickly they get up, and what
things happen. I mean, play the game, but yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't see Coach Free intentionally running the score
no,
up.
Not at all.
He's not that kind of guy. But I don't see where AFC's got a chance in this ball game. Switching things up, Shane, we're going to the Northwest where we have EPC going to Amboy. EPC comes in with a 1-0 record after they beat East Dubuque 28-0, while Amboy comes in with that 0-1 record after that loss to Milledgeville 36-7. In this matchup last year, EPC won 40-0. And Shane, you look at what Amboy did with Milledgeville. And, I mean, they really played them really tough to start the first half. But it was almost like they folded over as soon as Boyer returned that kickoff in the second half.
Right. That happens. I mean, you like to get away from collapses like that, but how many times haven't we seen over the years where you're playing close and then something bad goes wrong or something goes wrong? Next thing you know, play here, play there, you're down 4 scores. For me, this game is pretty simple. I mean, not as far as picks or anything like that, but I mean, you look at how Amboy played against Milledgeville, and then you kind of look at how you would foresee an EPC in Milledgeville scenario as well. And I mean, EPC to me is a step ahead of Milledgeville yet.
No, that's more than a step.
Being nice, and we'll get to that at some point, I'm sure this year. But you look at that, and you know, Amboy loses 36-7. EPC is better than Milledgeville. I mean, process of elimination. It's going to be a long night for the Clippers.
Yes. And I would have to say this is a great opportunity for EPC as they're learning a new offense under Coach McNutt. And you saw it a little bit last week. Granted, they struggled, and you know, they did a lot of stupid things. They had 12 penalties that negated a lot of yards that probably would have resulted in a much larger deficit over East Dubuque than what it was. But, you know, you got Smart Jesse throwing the ball more than what they have been the last couple of years. You know, they still got the run game going, but they're doing new things. And this is that game for them to, as long as they take care of the ball, explore on some different things as well. I mean, don't sell the cupboard because, you know, you got some competition coming. Right.
And, I mean, how many times don't we see that, though, where week one, some weird things happen? I mean, you got some kids who are seeing their first time varsity action all across the board. You know, you can easily look at the schedule of last Friday and see that maybe one team actually showed up from start to finish on the northwest side and pretty much took care of business the way we expected, which was Winslow. So, I mean, for me, like you said, EPC, chance to do some things. Don't sell out what you have. You got Du-Pec next week. Another potential tune-up game before Forreston in week 4.
Well, you know, looking ahead at that Du-Pec matchup, which we'll cover later, it may be more than just a tune-up game. But this week, I like the Wildcats. West Carroll at Du-Pec. Shane. Both teams come in with an 0-1 record as West Carroll lost 37-8 to Winslow, while Du-Pec lost to Forreston 30-6. Both games were anticipated. However, Du-Pec's game was tied 6-6 at halftime. But if you look at total yardage, it definitely teetered more for Forreston's favor by a landslide.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I mean, I was adding up the stats at halftime, excuse me, and I think it was at halftime, like, Durand, Du-Pec had
57 yards.
7 yards. I mean, that's nothing.
And 142 for Forreston.
Right, and if you break it down, I don't remember the exact yards, but at least 30 of that came on the Mulcahy touchdown run. So, I mean, Du-Pec had nothing going for them.
Well,
but
it wasn't Mulcahy's touchdown run, but it was a big run that set up the touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it was.
That was a heck of a run, though, by the way. Man.
Yeah, we'll see tonight.
Vote for that on Play of the Week, yeah.
But, you know, and then, you know, Du-Pec's playing close in the third quarter, and, you know, right out of halftime, they have that injured timeout, and it just seemed like it just sucked the energy right out of the field.
Yeah, I mean, you come into the start of the second half, and you could just feel that Du-Pec had the momentum until one of their own was on the ground, and like you said, it
lingered too.
Yes, obviously it was a serious enough injury that you had to take the right precautions, but like you said, it just seemed like an eternity compared to the pace of the game up to that moment in time.
Right. And, that happens, and then Forreston pretty much takes control and starts putting points on the way that they should have in the first half. I mean, realistically, though, Forreston really shot themselves in the foot a lot in that first half, whether it was the short kicks or, just not converting drives, so to speak. It's just...
Well, how about the drive that they had that they decided to go for to set up Du-Pec with their touchdown?
You punt the ball. I've been on this kick last year where I was punt the ball. There again, punt the ball. Like, what are you doing?
Well, it's one of those situations, 4th and short, you think you got it.
My kids told me, my kids told me I could get it.
Well, if your kids tell you to get it, you got to get it.
Yep, and when they don't, you're the one that looks bad. That's the way of the game.
Yeah, and the coach knows that. You wear that with on your shoulders.
Right.
So.
And as far as West Carroll last week, I don't know if I'm one of the people that thought it'd be closer than this. I thought it would be. I haven't, so to speak, bought into the West Carroll aspect this year that a lot of people have. The way that they think they're going to be compared to last year. And I don't know. To me, this game kind of went the way I thought it would.
Well, Derek Tracy looked impressive with what he did at quarterback.
Right.
His top target was Michael Popkin with 5 receptions for 153 yards, and they connected for the only score for West Carroll after it was already 30-0. But you look at the way that Lena Winslow played that game.
Right.
And the whole stuff about starting slow and everything else, you could throw that right out the window.
And, not to throw West Carroll under the bus, they're not going to be the only team that Lena Winslow makes look bad.
And, honestly, 37-8 doesn't look bad. They were tough. They're tough. They are tough. They're going to be tough.
Right.
With all the guys that we've listed off throughout the preview, Cody Side, Michael Popkin, Derek Tracy, Cody Scheider, and a few others, they're going to be tough. They've been here. They've done that. But, Du-Pec also did something I was really impressed with. They were physical against
Very much so. Not something we anticipated. But as far as this goes, I like West Carroll at home, or at Du-Pec on the road with a win.
I do like West Carroll on the road as well. East Dubuque at Galena. Both teams, Shane, come in with 0-1 records after East Dubuque lost to EPC, as we mentioned before, 28-0, where Galena lost to Dakota 35-0. In this matchup last year, Shane, East Dubuque came out with a 25-7 win, a game that me and you had both predicted correctly. But here we are, and in our preseason picks, we had picked East Dubuque to go 0-9.
Yeah, we did. And Galena showed me nothing in week 1 to make me believe they're going to win anything this year. And East Dubuque showed me nothing this last week that makes me believe they're going to win a game this year. So basically, you have two teams that could both go 0-9, but unfortunately, one of them has to beat the other one right now. And, if you're East Dubuque, you took that loss. Now you got to rattle off eight in a row to get to that 8-1 mark that they felt they were going to get coming into the season.
Right. That was the expectations. We'd heard 7-2, 8-1, but you got to put lofty expectations out for kids to believe in that. So it is what it is. But realistically, there's no way they're going 7-2 in the Northwest. Anyhow, in this matchup though, Galena needs to wake up, because as soon as they saw adversity against Dakota, let me back up. So in the preseason, we were talking about how Galena was feeding off of Freed and doing what they expected, or what they were told to do, taking his command. As soon as they faced adversity against Dakota, that went right out the window, and they played like little babies.
Right, and that's something that cannot happen. On top of that, Galena lost their quarterback to an injury. I don't know what his status is going into this week. You knock your quarterback out of the game,
let's face it, they don't have a backup quarterback.
Right.
Anderson's it. Without Anderson, you have nothing.
And
But even after he threw interceptions and he's sitting there pointing fingers at other, that's not what leaders do.
Correct. And
I don't want to call him out, but, you know, you just, to get better and be better, yes, you got to be accountable. You do it in a different realm.
Right. I would agree with that. And for that reason, you know, maybe you're not ready to make your pick or not, but I'm going to take East Dubuque on the road here.
Yes. I had East Dubuque going 0-9 on the year. I'm going to say I am incorrect right now because I am taking the Warriors at Galena. Shane, our Upstate game of the week is going to be a really good game. I feel we have the Orangeville Broncos taking on the River Ridge Wildcats. Orangeville comes in this game with an 0-1 record after they lost that heart thriller, breaker, whatever you want to call it, 34-31 to Polo. And River Ridge came out with their first shutout ever as a program and their first 1-0 start ever in the program, beating AFC 22-0.
Right.
Last year in this game, though, Orangeville won 26-8.
Right. I mean, a close game there too last year. An impressive win for River Ridge. You know, we anticipated River Ridge win. I did notice that when we submitted our picks, there was a couple people that thought AFC was going to win. Nonetheless, you know, River Ridge expects to be better this year. We expect River Ridge to be better, flirting with that playoff. You know, you had to get it started right against AFC. I mean,
we talked about them being our sleeper.
You are literally where you want to be right now.
I mean, we've been doing this for 3 years, and people think we feed them a line of bluff. I mean,
right. I mean, sometimes I do because
we want to get you
like to screw with people, but we're not messing with River Ridge. I like this team a lot.
No, I do too. I like what they bring to the table. I mean, when you got the quarterback in Jacob Spear, I mean, he's just got that leadership mentality in his head. I mean, he's doing everything that you would expect a leader to do. You got complimentary back with Ben Christ, and you got Cam Kiley and a few others that can just get this offense going. And man, all they gotta do is get that line going. If they can keep going that line and get the physicality on the line, I'm telling you what, watch out, because their line's not small. They just gotta get over the aspect that they're playing in the Upstate and realize, hey, we can win some games, and we can play with the big boys too if we get going, because their offense says that they can.
Right, and I mean, like you said, physically, they're right there. You just got to get over that mental block and actually get going. And on the opposite side of the ball, I mean, we've touched a little bit and leading into this show. I mean, what a heartbreaking loss for Orangeville. A collapse, if you will.
Yes, big collapse for Orangeville. I honestly, me and Carrie were there. It was a great ball game, no doubt about it. I mean, Polo earned it just as much as Orangeville gave it away.
Right. And, you know, we've touched on it a little bit, and we've had some people on the message boards like, you know, where's this leave Orangeville after that loss? Well, you had them at 7-2. They're okay in your book. I had them at 5-4, beating Polo. So, you know, that's something, as far as I'm concerned, that was a game that they had to have.
Well, it goes back to what we stated about the Orangeville Polo game. There's a lot on the line as far as playoff implications, even though it's only week 1. Well, guess what, Orangeville? It's week 2. There's a lot on the line as far as playoff implications.
Well, and that's what we talk about every week in this conference. I mean, you're at a must-win every week. You want the playoffs, you got to win the game. How are they going to respond here is the next question.
Right. I mean, I expect a pissed-off Orangeville team to come into River Ridge. Line-wise, advantage Orangeville. Skill-wise, advantage River Ridge. Who's going to show up and who's going to want it more? And by God, you better fight for every inch. You better fight for every yard. And that's the one thing that I really liked out of Orangeville on Saturday, is something I hadn't seen last year. They were finishing plays. So was Polo. So they both picked that part up. Is River Ridge able to do the same thing come Friday?
Yeah, and that's $1 million question. But you know what? I'm going to take River Ridge at home. And it's going to feed into their game next week. You know, you got Galena next week, and then you got Warren. I mean, we could be, you know, you got to win this one first, but you could be talking about a 4-0 River Ridge team.
You know, I got friends on both sides of this matchup, and I like them all. I picked Orangeville from the get-go. I'm sticking with the Broncos. Shane, our Northwest game of the week provides us with the game that has been the matchup of the Northwest the last 2 years in a row. We're talking the Forreston Cardinals at the Galena-Winslow Panthers. Both teams come in this game 1-0 as Forreston beat Du-Pec 30-6, Galena-Winslow beating West Carroll 37-8. And last year in this exact same matchup, we're not talking semifinal matchup, Galena-Winslow came back to win 28-14.
Yeah. A lot to digest here, I think. Something I'm just going to throw this out there because I like to be real with the people. There was a moment in that game last week when we were at Forreston, and I don't know if you recall this, and I think it was towards halftime, and they were tied 6-6 Du-Pec. You know, going into the season, we always look at the games like what's game of the week here, game of the week there. I think I said to you, are we going to cancel the game of the week next week when we were talking about Forreston? I don't know if you remember that.
I do. I
do. But to me, that's how far Forreston has fallen off. I'm going to throw it out there, and, you know, if they make a game out of it and make me look like an idiot, so be it. That's great for the conference. Forreston does not match up well with Galena-Winslow at all in this game.
I'm going to differ from that. I think Forreston has the capability of matching up with Galena-Winslow. What they cannot do is play the way they did last Friday against Du-Pec, because if they come out with that kind of intensity against Galena-Winslow, they might as well kiss the air goodnight because they're getting back on the bus ride to Forreston with a loss.
Right. And, you know, I'm not saying that they can't play with them, and, you know, I anticipate a more fired-up Forreston team coming off, you know. Film will never look as bad as you think it will. I mean, that's probably... Forreston probably hated looking at that film against Du-Pec, but realistically, they didn't. I mean, they still dominated the game, other than the score in the first half. I mean, there was some mental mistakes. We generally don't jump on coaching much, but there was some coaching mistakes that they cannot afford to do against Galena-Winslow. Getting that 4th and 1, 4th and 2, deep in your own territory, punt the ball.
Well, that's the mark of Forreston football, though,
right.
And that's just Coach Zick sticking with Forreston football.
Right, and another thing I threw out to you on, you know, they've had athletes the last couple of years, and Forreston still has athletes, and, you know, they're built for their mentality. But to me, Forreston has got to slow this game down.
They do, because if they don't slow the game down, the Galena-Winslow team is going to run over you, through you, and around you, and bury you in the process.
I'm not saying get rid of your offensive game, and I'm not a coach, but this would be a great week to throw out the hurry-up offense and just eat the clock on sustained drives.
Well, and that's one of those, I mean, let's be honest. Let's take a look at a game outside the conference. Let's take a look at Byron IC last year in the semifinals of Class 3A.
Right.
It's exactly what Byron did to make that a 7-0 ball game.
They knew they had to.
They had to slow the game down and chew up clock just to stay in the ball game, and they still could have won the game.
Right. Forreston's not only playing Galena-Winslow, they're also playing the clock here.
And look what IC did. They went on to dominate in another 3A title game. Now they're playing up at 4A this year because of it. Forreston is in that same boat. Now here's the thing. Let's roll back to last year. Last year in this exact same matchup, we both said Forreston because Galena-Winslow doesn't come ready to play. Tell you what, if Forreston can get jacked up for this game, especially with Galena-Winslow coming out of a big game, can they catch them off guard and give them a wow in the second week?
Well, and I don't know necessarily that will happen to this Galena-Winslow team. I mean, this seems, you know, we talked to a lot of the guys, and this seems like a team that has their mind set on their goals. And realistically, Forreston did last year too. But I agree with you. If Forreston comes ready to play, this could be a hell of a ball game.
Yeah.
But I don't like Forreston in this game. I like Lena Winslow at home.
Yeah, I have to think that coming into the Panther Bowl, you got to go with Lena Winslow. Something new that we're rolling out this year as we've got partners with coaches and hometown trophies out of Lena is our Player of the Week. And tonight is the unveiling of our first Player of the Week honors. We will list 3 of these every week, in which they will receive a medallion, a t-shirt from coaches, and a pizza voucher of coaches. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that local businesses are really stepping in, rewarding the kids for their hard efforts on the field.
Yes, I'm so glad that we are approached with these opportunities, as it gives the kids something to work for as well, on top of just what you should be working for.
Right, and that's great. And this week, when we first started this, you think of 3 kids. It's like, okay, any given day, okay, I think we can think of 3. And then the games start happening, and
you start seeing the numbers roll in.
You start seeing the numbers. Like, there was a couple times before we get to it, this kid had such and such. Okay, he's a lock. And then you get some more stuff, and it's like, oh wow, we had a lot to pick from this week. I couldn't ask for more.
There was a lot of great games out there. There definitely was a lot of performers that unfortunately will not make our list this week. But with the kids that we have, we feel that they are deserving of the award, regardless of the outcome of the games that they were in or whatnot. They earned it through their play. So, player number 1, Aquin's Will Gustafson. Kid went 11 for 19 for 176 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Carried the ball 20 times for another 179 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then on the defensive side of the ball, 9 tackles and 1 interception.
What do you say to that? I mean, he's getting exactly what he deserves.
Yes. Unbelievable game, Will. Congratulations on that game. Keep the efforts up going forward. Next, we have Aiden Sullivan from West Carroll. Despite the big loss that West Carroll had to Lena Winslow, this kid comes out and gets 22 tackles on opening night. Unbelievable.
Right. I mean, that's a Brian Urlacher at Arizona performance right there. I mean, realistically, 22 tackles. Congratulations. I mean, he was all over the field.
Yeah. Way to play, man. Keep it going. Last but not least, Colin Dvorak of Stockton. We always say, stop Dvorak, you stop Stockton. 21 carries, 247 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I tried to get his defensive stats. Unfortunately, the plug I got from Coach Snyder, I could not get to work right. Sorry, Coach. But either way, one heck of a game there.
Right, and that's about half the amount of carries he normally gets to. Realistically, though, hell of a game.
Yeah, no, great game. All 3 of these very much deserving. The awards will be at Coaches in Lena. We will let everybody know. That way you can go to Coaches to receive your medallion, your t-shirts, and your pizza voucher to Coaches as well. So that gives you a recap of this week's upcoming matchups and predictions. Shane, I expect some really good games. Obviously, there's quite a few out there that'll still be one-siders. But some matchups that'll definitely give you the wow factor. I mean, you can sit there and possibly see the Milledgeville Polo game. You can say Orangeville River Ridge. You can say East Dubuque Galena, Forreston Lena Winslow. Maybe even West Carroll Du-Pec for all we know.
Yeah, if Du-Pec comes out ready to play
like they did last week,
we could be talking about that. And that's something that, Coach Hoffman and their guys really does have them believing in something going forward for Du-Pec. Like 3 to 4 games, that's not bad.
Touching back, too, on the Du-Pec mantra, when they were getting their butts hammered in there in the 4th quarter, you could hear them saying, don't get down, boys. Let's keep fighting.
Yeah.
We got more to play for. And that, to me, was inspiring to see, especially for a program that's been struggling and they're trying to build something. And that's exactly where it gets built at. Players like that, keeping that team up, saying, hey, we just played our tails off. We got beat. Don't give up.
Well, that's just it. You got to unfortunately, you're going to have a couple of years that you're going to take your beating and building the program up. I mean, last year's seniors for Du-Pec, they went 1-8 last year. That was their only win that they had.
That was their goal.
You know, they wanted to come out and win a game, and you know,
got to start somewhere.
This year might, you know, be that stepping stone to next year where they could be dangerous. I mean, we'll get to that
next year,
but that's what we're talking about with Du-Pec. But yeah, 3 to 4 games I see that could be nail biters here. Maybe more if certain teams come play.
Yeah, so I mean, week 2 is definitely a great week. We always say, get out to the ball games, support your community, support your towns, support football in the NUIC. It's the best conference in the state.
And if you are interested in becoming an official, now would be a good time to get interested because we're having a hell of a time.
Well, you know, unfortunately, I see a lot of parents out at the games yelling at the refs.
They think they're officials. Time to step up to the plate because we're literally rescheduling games because we have a lack of officials.
So if you got the mouth to run it, get out on the field and let's see it. Anyway, always root for the NUIC.